In September of 2023, artist Jim Winters created a 12-color reduction screen print of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Hey, it's Jim, drinking out of my Andy Warhol mug. I'm going to make a reduction screen print, a 12-color reduction screen print based on this photo taken by my husband, Jeff. And through this process, you'll get to see how I paint the screen filler on the screen to make the stencils to print from, and each of the colors and how it all goes down. And hopefully by the end, you'll have a better understanding of how this process works. All right.
Santa Cruz artist Jim Winters has been creating colorful reduction screen prints for over 40 years. Winters' screen prints often portray man-made and industrial structures, such as rail yards and power lines, in beautiful locations. So it is fitting that he chose the Golden Gate Bridge to document his reduction screen print process. His approach of using one screen for the entire project allows Winters to incorporate more colors than can be readily achievable with traditional screen printing techniques, which require a separate screen for each color. A favorite of husband, Jeff Stallings, was a birthday gift from Winters, a reduction screen print of their spoiled, rotten dog, Miss Otis. Miss Otis also serves as Winters' mascot and muse. In addition to screen printing, Winters draws and paints portraits, landscapes, and other subjects. In 2004, he completed this drawing of Stallings when he was better looking and had more hair. Now, let's see just how Winters achieves such colorful prints utilizing just one screen.
This is the screen I'm going to use to make the entire edition of prints. I'll basically just keep applying screen filler and printing, applying screen filler and printing until the open space on the screen has reduced, hence the name reduction screen print, and all my prints are done. First thing I do is paint a square and fill in the outside of the square because that will be my border. One thing I really like about painting this outside square in is that it kind of gets me into the zone of painting the screen itself. So it's kind of like this meditative warm-up, just trying to paint this straight, flat edge. I'll blow dry it with a dryer, and then I will do a second coat, and then I'll re-tape all my corners, so the only printable area will be right in our center square. Okay, my outside square is painted in, and I have all my edges taped. And what I'm doing here is just making sure there's no pinholes that ink can go through. So the next step that I'm going to be doing is using my source photo, placing it here on the light table, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace out all the areas that I want to remain paper white. That's technically the first color. It's the color of the paper. I'm not printing white. I want to preserve all my whites. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to trace out all the shapes for the white, and then I will fill those areas in with screen filler so they don't get printed. So as you can see, there's a lot of open space and just a lot of little tiny dots. Those little dots that I filled in with screen filler will stay white, the color of the paper, and the rest of this will be printed. So the next step is to get my printing board all set up. Use my trusty clown marshmallow box. Always got to have clowns involved. And then I just screw this guy in here like so. So once my paper is in place in the exact position I want all the other pages to go in, I make these little registration marks with a little tab of paper and tape, and then I just slide those in underneath my paper here. And then that way, every time I go to print the next color, the paper will line up in exactly the same spot. And sometimes there's little vibrations of colors underneath, so it doesn't always line up perfectly, but perfectly enough. And those little variations ultimately make it more interesting. And it's taken a long time to get to the point where I think that those are interesting because I tend to be a perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect. And there's just nothing in the world that is perfect. So this is also an exercise in letting go of perfectionism, trying to have as much control as possible, but then also relinquishing control and letting the process just do its thing and then be open to the beauty of the imperfections.
Color number 1. Light, warm gray. Although I personally think it's more of a creamy, beigey, golden wheat kind of color.
The first color I'm going to print is going to be a light, warm gray. And the places in the photo where you can see that are, this ridge, these little, pillars here on the side of the bridge, the trunk, just these light areas. My next color will be the light blue, but the first thing I want to do is this gray, and that'll give us sort of this base gray that everything else can be printed on top of. Ideally, you print darker colors on top of lighter colors because as the successive colors pile up, they don't change. Usually what I like to do is print larger areas first and then print the smaller areas afterwards. But sometimes that process has to be altered just because the print doesn't want to happen that way. The trick is I always want to mix just the right amount, that I have a little bit extra. I never want to mix too little because then I have to thin it and it changes colors. So it's always kind of a intuitive process, mixing the correct amount. Obviously, the first print requires the most ink because it's the largest area. So the first few colors always are more ink heavy. If I get a print run of 40, that would be fantastic. If I get more than that, great. That's usually on the upper end of how many I print at one shot. All right, here we go. We got 55 of these guys here. Now, because I'm going to change the screen after this, 55 is the max. I can't go back and reprint anything. So what will happen is as the prints degrade and as they don't come out as well as I want them to, that 55 will go down. So ultimately, if I end up with 40, that would be great. It's only when you start doing the next colors that everything can start going downhill or change, obviously, whatever.
Color number 2 is a lovely sky blue.
You may have noticed yesterday when I printed color number 1 that I kept saying gray, I'm going to print pale gray. And if we look at the print that I made, you can see, obviously, that is not pale gray. So I kind of want to explain a little bit about that. I intended to mix a pale gray to represent these colors. But then when I was looking at my pre-mixed paint, I found this really great creamy, beigey, golden wheat kind of color. And I actually see that color in here. So my intuition for what color I wanted to use overrode my intellectual thinking about what the first color should be. It all worked out fine because I love this color. I'm glad we used it. It's lighter than the light gray that is going to be in the clouds here and the water. I just wanted to make a note that I said I was going to do one color, and then the color that got printed, some may not call that gray. So this is kind of a process for me narrating what I'm doing. So I have my screen all lined up with the image underneath. All the areas that were left paper white have already been blocked out. And the next thing I'm going to trace out are all the areas that I want to remain this color. I'll trace all those out in here in the foliage, the shrubbery, the little pillars, everything that I want to stay that color. I'm going to block out. So when I print my next color, that will stay the same color. That will stay this beautiful creamy golden tan color. We're getting ready to print our second color. And the first thing I'm going to do is take my first color and lay it down in the registration marks. and line it up side to side so I get my open area of printing matching perfectly with what has already been printed. So it will stay what they call in register. Color 2. All right, here we go. We have our sky blue. We're gonna mix this on top. Lay it in on top. We already have our paper underneath. Okay, so this is the fun part, seeing how color 2 interacts with color 1. Flood the screen, and a lot of times the paper sticks, it's okay. And, ooh, check that out. Not a lot of difference between the blue and the cream, although as the blue dries, it will change.
The third color will be a sky blue, a sort of cloud blue, and there will be snacks.
We're about to begin working on our third color. As you can see here, we have our first 2 colors printed. The registration looks pretty good. You can differentiate between the light tan and the light blue. And so now what I'm going to do is set up my light table and then trace out all the areas that I want to remain this color, which will be the light blue above and below the clouds, some of the water, a little bit of the shrubbery and rocks down here, and then whatever details over here I want to call out. We're getting ready to print our third color, which is going to be a sky blue, more like a cloud blue, a shade or so darker than the regular light sky blue. And what I did was I used the sky blue that I used yesterday, saved a little bit in case I need to do any retouching, and used that as my base for the next blue. And we are good to go. This is really exciting because a lot is going to change with this color. Starting to see some of the bridge. The kind of complicated thing about this is painting the sky in around the bridge. And then I kind of have to decide whether I want to focus then on the foliage area right up front or get the bridge out of the way next because there's so much detail. Usually with a highly detailed area, I like to kind of take care of that earlier in the process because the more you keep adding, there's more opportunities for the registration to go off. So it's kind of you keep having to balance everything and figure out the color priorities. There should be a big difference now because the structure of the composition is getting established. I'm very excited. The reveal is always so exciting. And I, in fact, sometimes get so excited that I don't make sure my screen is perfect before proceeding because I'm so into it. Okay, all came up. See, you're already seeing the composition and what it's going to look like. Everything's registered.
The fourth color is a pale navy and an affirmation of your caffeine addiction.
We're getting ready to start our fourth color. What that means is I want to paint out the areas of this screen that I want to remain the darker blue here. Most of it's going to be this blocking out the sky and blocking out the water. A little bit of dark in the water and a little bit in here. Well, I'm calling it pale navy. It's a darker blue. It's not a shadow blue, but it's going to be this dark in the shadows here, mostly these mountains, hills in the back, a little bit in here, like I said. So we're still in blue for a little while longer, and stay tuned. What I have blocked out on the screen is the sky and the water. I'm leaving a little bit of waves here for a little dimension in that open space for some dark blue. All right, ready? Flood the screen. Oh, cool. So you can see our ship now has dimension. The water is highlighted. Some dark waves in here look nice. The sky is good. The interesting thing I wanted to do was differentiate the water and the sky because they both have exactly the same colors, but obviously water has a different texture and feeling than sky. So I think they look different, and that was the goal. So we're right on track. Registration looks good. Let's keep going.
Color number 5 is an ultra blue, like right out of the jar.
I have all my, what I'm calling pale navy area blocked out. And the next color I'm going to print is my darkest blue. On my color list here, as you know, which is, I call it one thing and then it ends up being a different thing. I'm calling it navy. And what it is all the darkest shadows in the background. But I think instead of actually printing a navy, I'm going to print it with this ultra blue, like right out of the jar. Mostly because it's more interesting if those blue shadow areas kind of pop with some blue and are maybe a little electric instead of just being a dark blue. That is significantly darker. It's going to just be a vivid blue. And I know, with aerial perspective, things in the background shouldn't be that bright, but you know what? It's a print. And so I can do whatever the hell I want. And I want it to have bright blue shadows. Here we go. I'm going to set up this next color real time so we can hear one of my all-time favorite Dolly Parton songs. I'm such a terrible lip syncer, sorry. I picture you with her head shudder. It's like a dagger through the heart. Okay, that's it. Sorry.
Do you think that my feelings don't matter? Or you're cheating or hurtful remarks? When you leave me all broken and shattered, it's like a dagger through the heart.
The 6th color can only be described as grayish-green.
The next thing I'm going to do is create a grayish green color that's going to go over most of this blue. I'm going to leave this dark, brilliant blue near the water and some little shadows in the back. And at one point I was going to do the bridge at the very end, but because there's so much detail, I'm going to do the bridge next, leaving this foreground of all this foliage as my last bit. And that's the most abstract part. So that can be full of detail. It can have stuff that doesn't quite make sense, but color-wise and visually, it's going to look great. So we're basically working from background to foreground. The background of the, the other side of the bridge itself, and then the foliage. You know what I could do is just mix that light tan color with that and see if I get a greenish gray, because this is kind of blue and this is kind of yellowish. So we'll give it a shot and see. Wish me luck. I think it's going to be just right. All right, fingers crossed. Ooh, okay. So, very interesting. Now, what I'm getting is some haloing of the dark blue color around here, but I don't mind it. You see this little bit of a line? That's kind of cool.
The 7th color is not Pepto-Bismol pink.
Hey, so a lot of the little haloing of this dark blue vanished in the subsequent prints. So it all ended up being great. It appears in some, it doesn't appear in some. That's all part of the handmade beauty of these prints. So next, what I'm going to do is block out on my screen everything that I want to remain this gray-green. So all of this in the back and a lot of foliage down here. And then the next color I'm going to print will be not Pepto-Bismol pink, but just like a hot pink. Kind of an exaggerated light red, just to take it away from reality a little bit. It's not Pepto-Bismol pink, it's not light orange, it's sort of a coral, flamingo, something flamboyant. And it matches my shirt. So one of the reasons why I went from the dark blue to this green to then pink is because the pink is going to have a lot more fidelity laying over top of this medium tone color than it would if I just laid it right down on top of the dark blue. So if you're not going to do your entire print from light to dark, you go light to dark, back to medium, back to light. So you just ease the color changes a little bit so you get more of the fidelity of the color as it lays down.
Oakland-based illustrator, professor, and screen print artist Michael Wirtz is a good friend and collaborator. He and his husband, Andy Cowett, have amassed a large collection of Winter's artwork.
So yeah, Jim was one of the people who taught me how to screen print. He helped me set up my own screen print studio in the basement. And then I've just sort of gone on from there. And so I've done these epic 18x24 neon. It's sort of like if Jim's, the reduction prints are his shtick, the neon kind of glow prints are mine. I have flat files full of Jim's work. So I'm not exactly a completist, but I have a lot of his work in his house.
And he has a lot of your work.
So the painting right behind us is of Vaginal Cream Davis. It was done for a show he did of drag celebrities. This thing here is the first piece of Jim's that I've ever bought. Flower had this in our store. Wow. So this is the first Jim I ever got, and I just thought it was so perfectly insane. I needed to have one. This is a Jim clown from his clown show that he had. There's Hibiscus right there from the same series, all the drag queens. There's Rodney. There's a self-portrait. That's an early one. I think I got that at Sugar Valley when we showed together at Sugar Valley. There's that one. The Unisphere. Oh yeah, Vincent Price. Andy and I commissioned Jim to make this painting behind me in the early O's, so 2001, 2002.
He noticed up above our bookshelves that we had a bunch of games piled up, and so he thought he'd turn us into a game board. Oh, and so we have Miss Olive, our old dog. But I love to come in here every day and look at the painting and think about like the couple we used to be and the couple we are now. I love having it in the house. It's a little strange to have a big portrait, like an epic portrait of yourself in your house, but this one I think is quite beautiful. I'm really happy to have it. I feel very lucky. So yeah, the drying rack that he's using now came from Flower Studio. It lived here for a while, and then we loaded it back in Jim's truck and sent that back to Santa Cruz. So now it lives with Jim and Jeff. And we actually Jim and I have collaborated on a few projects. We hope to collaborate in some other projects in the future. So we're always dreaming up like fun stuff to do together. And so yeah. The way that I work screen print is a little bit more what you might think of as like a traditional screen print where you go light colors to dark colors, right? It's much sort of larger graphic shapes. I try and limit the number of colors that I work with. It's a very time intensive process to do even a single color in screen print. Blue. Good girl. What's happening?
Needs privacy.
She's just admiring Vaginal Davis.
Color number, red. Viewer discretion advised.
Our paint came out really good. Very, very excited. So this coral pink, I'm going to leave as all the bridge highlights, including, the big cables coming off. I think that would look good left pink. And just some stuff in here, maybe a little bit up in here, and, part of this ship here. I'm going to go ahead and trace those areas that I want to leave pink. And then the next color we're going to print is going to be the red, orangey red of the bridge. Odie. Odie, come here. What are you doing? Hey, come here. No, she can't. She is my mascot, who I love dearly. Sweet bug.
That dog is your muse, isn't she?
Thank you, darling, for being in my movie.
All right, you ready?
Not quite. To do one little thing on here, which I noticed just now. This little cable of the bridge looked kind of sloppy. And those lines have to be kind of, well,
No sloppy cables, please.
ideally graceful, but I'm rarely graceful.
No, it's not true. You are.
It's a group activity here in the studio today. Okay, lining up my screen that's going to be red, medium bridge red, over the light red that I did yesterday. Okay. The cool thing is putting this orangey red over the pink, even if it's slightly thinned out or a little translucent, it'll be fine because it's going over that pink.
What's your muse doing over there?
Getting in my way,
Hey, Odie,
to
you better
be
get out of
perfectly
here.
honest.
Well, yeah, red.
Red, you keep saying red.
Well, because the Golden Gate Bridge is, well, orangey red, and
It's not
I've been
golden.
waiting for this part of it.
I did a light red, medium red, and then I'll do a dark shadow red
Right.
after this one.
The paint on the Golden Gate Bridge was created specifically for that bridge.
Yeah, it has a name, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
The color of the bridge was chosen when architect Irving F. Morrow noted bright lead primer on steel beams during construction and was smitten. Despite Stalling's obsession with the color red, the bridge is in fact painted International Orange, a color that blends well with the span's natural setting. All right then, where were we?
You know what? I gotta do this. Nope, too much.
Oh.
That knocks it in place. That is a great color. It will dry a little bit darker.
It's orange, but it's standing in as red. I mean, it's
That often
in the
happens.
context with the other colors
Yeah.
and stuff.
It's that thing where I say that it's one color, but it actually looks like a different color, and then it does something different on the paper. Anyway, the idea is red, orange, red. But colors change when they're printed because of the relationship with the other colors. Like when I printed that dark blue, all the colors that had just subtle changes that you could detect, they all turned light. They all turned like a light color. So it all shifts as you're going along.
Magic.
It is magic. Oh, okay.
Right there, it looks red. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's only going to be up in here. It's great. And the cables going back are darker. And we got some nice red in the boat.
Oh, nice.
And this cable stayed pink. So we're good. I might need to work on the shift side to side, but
Very cool.
that's fine.
8th color, number red, ready to go. Did I say number red?
I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention. I want it over a little bit. Shoot. Okay.
Color number 9 is the shadow brown of a screaming hand.
The next color is going to be the shadow red. That's going to go in here. Why I'm working on the bridge now, even though it's smaller and I'm printing so much more red than what I need, is because the things at the end of the print run where they have all the other colors underneath are more prone to have color halos. And instead of having all those color halos happening in my focal point, I'd rather have all this happening in this sort of busy, abstracted area underneath. So that's my logic. I have my screen blocked out. I'm going to paint my dark red, which I'm going to actually use brown. Now, the cool thing about using the brown is that it will end up in this field of greenery, hillside, foliage, grumbly, whatnot down here at the bottom. So it won't be like there's a totally anomalous color showing up down here like maroon or purple.
No, it's like chocolate.
All right, come on, please.
This layer is made with chocolate sauce. Edible art. All right, big reveal.
Nice. Look at that. All those things in the bridge. That looks great. Really nice.
The 10th color is inspired by gay icon and celebrity Kylie Minogue.
Next color is going to be light green. So I'm going to block out the bridge. I'm going to block out a little bit of brown that I want to keep in here. And then we're going to go with our light green. And there's a lot of that in here. And I'm going to print that first, and I'll just see how much of that I want to keep. But we got a lot of sections, and that's going to really be a nice balance with this blue and this red. So by the time I print my last color, every other color is underneath.
Right.
So this foreground area has really built up a lot of different inks. Anyway, so this should be pretty cool. It's going to look dramatically different. I'm excited. I
Nice.
like it. Very grassy.
Oh, beautiful.
And as predicted, like these little halos of color just look cool, you know? Anyway, that's going to look great. Happy to proceed. It's all going according to plan.
The next to last color, number 11, is olivey green.
My next color is going to be this foreground color, second to last color, sort of olivey green down in the bottom here. I know I say every time I'm about to print it's the most fun part, but it really is, especially as you get toward the end of the print run, because it's just like so rewarding seeing it all come together like that. It's always a surprise. You never quite know what it's going to look like. I love doing it, and if I wasn't doing this, I don't know what I would do. I mean, I like to paint, but there's something about this, just in having all the copies and just, I don't know, ever since I was a kid, it was just always like my favorite thing to like make all these things. And anyway, it's just never gone away. I mean, I've had breaks here and there from screen printing, but I've always come back to it. But this is pretty much the thing that I like to do that I think sets me apart. Oh, yes. Isn't that nice? So this green that I just printed will darken. So these light green areas will just get lighter and lighter. That is looking so nice. And then my next color will be a darker green. The shadow green should be the same intensity as this blue and this brown. So it should all cohere by the end. A good friend of mine gave me this drawing rack decades ago in San Francisco. And apparently it had been used in some Mission District art studio space for years before that. Every time I move, I have to take it apart and put it back together. But man, it is such a cool thing. I'm so glad I have it. And it just is a nice reminder of the old school nature of this type of printing. One day, it will probably find a new home with somebody else. But for now, I'm going to keep working it. Yes! All right. Thanks for bearing with me here.
The 12th and final color is the dark green of a Sloan's Fang fish.
We're about to print the very last color, which is a dark green. But this dark green is only being featured down here. And what I decided to do was I actually mixed in some of this blue into this, so it'll be kind of a blue-green. It never ends up looking like how I planned it out to begin with, which I'll point out is one of the differences between this kind of printing and commercial printing, where you have all your colors set up in advance, you have all your screens set up in advance, and you basically know what it's going to look like. But control as much as you can and see how the variation happens within those parameters. That's what makes it interesting. This is it. This is the big 12th reveal. And it's all, for me, hinging on whether this green is going to be dark enough.
Hey, look, it matches your shirt.
All right.
All right, the big reveal. Oh my God.
Okay. We have a lot
Oh
of
my
nice activity in the foreground.
Wow.
It's specific, it's abstract, it's leafy, it's organic.
Let's go back to the very beginning. A very good place to start and watch the screens and print runs side by side. What we've seen is that each time Winters blocks in part of the screen, those newly blocked areas stay the color of the previous print run. With Sloane's Fangfish Green as the 12th and final color, Golden Gate Dawn is finally finished.
Tilt it this way and towards me, the other way. There you go. Now it's tilted that way. Bring it here. There you go. Now you're right there. Go.
Voila! Here is my finished reduction screen print entitled Golden Gate Dawn. And as you can see behind me is the Golden Gate Bridge. This is the exact spot where Jeff took the source photo. And I'm happy to announce that I maybe captured a wee tiny bit of the magic of this spot. Although obviously all any landscape artist or painter or printer can do is just capture the essence of the place, because nothing compares to nature actually being here and seeing the majestic nature of the Golden Gate Bridge. Anyway, it was a great project. I love doing it. I love seeing it again in the actual setting. And thank you to Jeff, and thanks to everyone for watching. We are going to take all the prints out of the rack, stack them up, and look through them to see how many of them actually came out. It all ended up working out great. The Golden Gate Bridge detail is pretty clear. And so any kind of little variations in the registration in the foreground, this foliage area, all that is totally fine because it's kind of abstracted anyway. That's one of the benefits of this process, is that the little minor shifts in registration add interest.
Winters will now examine all 55 prints and only keep the ones that meet his exacting standards. Unlike traditional screen printing, where screens can be used over and over, the one screen used to produce this print is no longer usable. So the Golden Gate Dawns that Winters selects are the only ones that will ever be made.
All right, good news. I got 40 good prints, just as I was hoping. I'm confident that the 40 that I chose here are really good. I'll feel good about trying to peddle these wherever I can. And yeah, so all good. So the next thing I'm going to do is sign and number them all, and then the edition will be complete. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm Cecil P. Dementi, and I'm the director.
John brought us cactus candy. Look, you seem like a perfectly nice guy, you know. I'll just stay the hell away from my family.
Well, now you don't get any candy. No, that's cruel. Take a teensy piece.
No.
Homer, what have you got against gays?
No, it's not usual. If there was a law, it would be against it.
Here we are at the John Waters Show at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in LA. And at the very end of the show, there is a wall filled with fan art, and 3 of the prints that I gave to John Waters are included. Divine, Liz Renee, and Edith Massey. And I am so excited. And I gave him these as a thank you gift after I interviewed him, and he included them in his show with all the other fan art. I am so honored and thrilled and excited. And I never knew that he got them. And then now, years and years later, here they are, included in his retrospective museum show in LA. And I couldn't be happier and more proud.
Yes, folks, this isn't any cheap X-rated movie or a puke.